I hope the title of this podcast did not trigger someone too much, but today we are talking about that obnoxious attention seeker, that person who constantly wants our attention. Now, as a reminder, these podcast episodes are meant for leaders in the workplace. However, a lot of the content can be used at home as well. Maybe you're experiencing a spouse who is constantly seeking your attention, or maybe you have a child in your home that is constantly needing your attention. Today, we are going to talk a little bit about what behaviors you might be seeing, what might be causing this behavior, and what are some strategies you can take to truly start to eliminate this attention seeking need from this other individual. I am so excited to get into this because I know that there is consistently a need for this conversation when I go out and speak. I have a lot of the same strategies that I give to them that I'm going to give out to you today as well. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the What If It Works podcast. This is episode 46. And today we are talking about a hot button topic, which is what to do with that employee, that child in your home that just constantly seeks your attention. And I want to start by talking about what might these behaviors look like. Before we get to the why, let's identify what is happening. So first and foremost, individuals who are seeking attention want to attract the attention of other individuals because they want to feel admired and they want to be the focus of someone else. What you might be seeing is them seeking out compliments. Something you may hear from them is them using some self-deprecating language. So speaking down about themselves. I'm so stupid. I can't believe I did that. I always am screwing up around here, and really trying to seek for validation that they have value, right? And so you might be seeing them cut themselves down and speak negatively about themselves loudly so that you and many other people around them can hear it. Another thing they might be doing is pretending that they are unable to accomplish a task. So think of this of asking your 4-year-old to get their shoes on, and they're like putting their shoe on upside down and they're kicking it away and it just won't go on, and right, and they're getting upset. And this type of behavior really does cause a lot of emotion to come out of us because of our frustration with some of the ridiculousness that this behavior might trigger in us. Same in the workplace. It might be somebody saying, well, I don't know how to do that, or nobody ever taught me how to do that, when this is something they clearly have been trained on and they should know what to do. But they are bringing those dramatics and bringing that exaggeration so that they can get more attention from you or other employees. Speaking of exaggerating, this is the one that I think I see the most as a school teacher. And that is exaggerating or embellishing a story to gain more attention or more adoration. So this could look like somebody telling you about their wild weekend, or somebody telling you about how a police officer pulled them over and it turns into a 45-minute story, right? All about what this cop said to this individual and what this person was not doing wrong. And it just seems to be embellished and exaggerated and really trying to get your focus put on them. Another thing you might see is them exaggerating something to get your sympathy. So they want you to be on their side. They want you to feel what they felt. And so again, they are exaggerating or embellishing something to make you go, oh no, I'm so sorry to hear that. Right? I think about you walking into the workplace and saying, good morning, how was your weekend? And somebody instantly goes into that like negative spiral of how awful their weekend was and how all of their plans were ruined and that they were the victim of these ruined plans. That to me is attention seeking behavior. Other things that might be a little more on the negative side, like really negative side, is comments that feel like they're calculated toward another individual that are negative. They want to make people feel uncomfortable. They want to make people feel powerless by stating these things that are rude, maybe even mean about another individual, again, to seek attention. And that one is not seeking positive attention. They're not seeking sympathy. They're seeking negative attention. They want someone to call them out. They want someone to come to them about this individual or about this situation. And then the last one is just being loud, making sure everyone can hear, whether it be positive or negative. They want to make sure that everyone is getting involved in their life and really wanting to learn more about them or wanting to hear more about them. Now, the problem about this is it is a complete distraction in the workplace. We understand that people come with a lot of emotion and life is heavy sometimes. And I completely understand that. But bringing it into the workplace where we are paying you to do a job and we are paying you for your time, really giving your time away from the job and to yourself and to seek that attention is really not getting you anywhere. In some of my early years in education, I really was exuding a lot of attention seeking behavior. If I had a negative situation with a student, man, I wanted the whole school to know about it. I wanted every teacher to be aware that something happened in Mrs. Vote's room. And it was toxic and it was negative and it really pulled the culture down. When I would get into a negative spiral, man, I wanted everybody joining me. So I am speaking to you today, not just from a place of a culture coach. I am speaking to you as someone who has been there. I would argue that a lot of my early years in teaching, I did a few behaviors that were very attention seeking, exaggerating stories, embellishing good things that happened in my room. And why was that? Let's go to the cause of attention seeking behavior. A lot of it stems from our self-confidence. And so people who are not super confident in the skill or in the job that they are doing will go through this attention-seeking behavior to gain validation that they are actually good at their job. And I really think I was seeking this early in my career, even through my 9-year tenure in the beginning before I had children. I know that I came to school ready for everyone to feel bad for me on some days because of some of the behaviors that were happening in my classroom. And so, with that being said, I feel like I can come from a place now that I learned that that did not serve me. I did not gain much from that attention seeking behavior. And so, obviously I grew up, I learned, I grew into who I am today and have been able to let go of that negative behavior and that toxic culture because I know it doesn't serve me. It definitely didn't serve my students and it absolutely didn't serve the staff that I worked with. And so on that note, having a low self-confidence can lead toward this attention-seeking behavior, low self-esteem, low belief in one's abilities to do well typically is the cause of this attention-seeking behavior. Another piece of this, and I really feel like that is where I was coming from, right? I was a new teacher. I was very young. I started teaching at the age of 22. And so I was constantly looking for validation and for people to come to my rescue because of that low self-esteem that I had as an educator. Now, there are two other pieces that drive attention-seeking behavior. Number one is loneliness. When people feel lonely inside, they will utilize attention-seeking behavior to attempt to gain friends. They will exude some of these behaviors where they talk loudly and they embellish stories, hoping that people find them interesting, hoping that people are drawn to this type of dramatics, and that their goal is to gain friends or gain connections. And it's because deep inside, they are feeling a lack of connection and therefore they are feeling lonely. Another reason people utilize attention-seeking behavior is jealousy. When people are feeling jealous, they are feeling like they need to take back that limelight. They need to gain that admiration and put the focus back on them because they're jealous of the focus being on someone else. And so these are some of the causes that might be making people act in a way that is attempting to gain the attention of other people. And the reason I wanted to do this episode today is because that is something that can pull down your workplace culture and truly start to create a negative spiral. And so what can we do about it? First and foremost, I need you to show up with compassion for this individual. Because as you'll see with the causes, low self-esteem, low belief in oneself, low confidence, jealousy, and loneliness are all very human emotions, and they are truly struggling in those moments. And so coming with compassion, having a mindset of something is going on with this individual that is causing them to behave in this way. So what can we do to help them grow in their confidence, grow in their self-esteem, grow in their connections with other people, and let go of that jealousy? So what is one of the strategies? Number one, go in and appreciate that individual for who they are. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, and this person is seeking attention, and me giving them appreciation is giving them exactly what they want. And I will sit here and smile and tell you, absolutely. Because someone with low self-esteem and low confidence and loneliness is looking for human connection. They're looking to be validated. They're looking to be appreciated. And so focus on their strengths, point them out, make sure that when you see a behavior that you do appreciate, you go in there and you give them an appreciation statement. You really make sure that they do feel seen, they do feel heard, they do feel valued, and you do that by giving appreciation. Secondly, in that same realm, then, let's see if you can find some of those strengths and match them with tasks that you are assigning them so that not only can they feel validated that what they bring to work matters, but they can also feel that success by doing something that they are strong in. If you are wondering what I'm talking about when I say strength focused tasks, go back to episode 44. It is all about how you can utilize people's strengths to drive momentum and really create a positive, thriving culture. You are going to want to go check out that episode because it really talks about leaning in on what people are good at so that they feel fueled up. They have higher levels of self-esteem and confidence, and therefore don't need to be doing that attention-seeking behavior. Now, I want to talk about them, but I also want to talk about you. You matter as well. And so really guarding your boundaries, if this individual's behavior is getting in the way of you doing your job. So those first two of really appreciating somebody's strengths and giving them strength-focused tasks, that is more for a leader who is working with an employee under them. Now I'm talking about you and an employee working side by side, and this individual constantly trying to gain your attention. You need to set clear boundaries with this individual. You need to make sure that you guard your happiness and your joy because that is important as well. And so making sure to be very clear about what your boundaries are. It is 7:30, everyone is walking into work, and someone goes into a story about their terrible weekend, and you can tell this is behavior they've exuded over and over and over to gain sympathy from somebody else, including yourself. Guard your boundaries by saying, I'm so sorry this happened to you. I do want to jump into my work right now and get started with my day. guard that boundary. You don't need to sit there for 25 minutes and listen to that spiral go out of control. You have work to do too. You are getting paid to do a job as well. And so really guard your boundaries. At a presentation today, I had somebody say, Anne, this is really hard. It's really hard to create boundaries when we all are people and people pleasers. And that is really tough. And right there with the title of the podcast, I said, okay, but what if guarding your boundaries works? And this individual understands that what you need to be successful at your job is for them to stop and take that negative conversation either elsewhere or stop the conversation altogether. And you get to truly flourish at work. This is why guarding your boundaries and setting boundaries is so important, because you are able to stay joyful. You are able to stay positive. You know that you're going to run into problems throughout your workday. And so you don't need more problems pulling you down. So make sure that you give clear and consistent boundaries to different individuals who are really trying to seek your attention. On that same note, other than guarding yourself and having boundaries, you also need to be really clear in your expectations with them, right? So if you say, hey, how was your weekend? They're like, oh my gosh, let me tell you a story. Your expectation might be, hey, I really do need to get to my desk. I've got 2 minutes for your story. I want to hear what happened to you this weekend, but I also do need to get to work. So what happened? Can you tell me in 2 minutes? And if they're like, oh, no, this is a good 15-minute story, and you actually are curious about it, you might say something like, let's talk at lunch, because I do need to get to my office and I have some things I need to get started on, right? Set those clear expectations. If you've been at any of my presentations, you know the what and the why. What do you expect out of them? That means tell me your story in 2 minutes. Why? Because I need to get to work, right? Give them the what and the why. What is it that you need, and why is it important for you or for them to comply? I also want you to think about that person that is exuding these types of behaviors and really embellishing and exaggerating on their stories. They're looking for those dramatics. And if you just do not have time for that, and your workplace is not meant for that type of storytelling and unloading, saying something like, hey, I understand you had a really rough weekend at work. This is not really the place that we should be talking about that. So let's catch up about this later, or let's catch up about this another time. But being really clear and consistent so they understand where your boundaries are, but also where your expectations lie, so that they can feel successful around you. And again, if I were to put those in order, I would definitely say focus on the appreciation first, lean into those expectations, set those boundaries, and then find those strength-related tasks that they can do. The other thing to remind you of is do not take the things they say personally. When they make those cutting remarks to gain your attention, or they talk negatively about your boss, again, to gain attention, make sure that in your mind, you are remembering this has nothing to do with me. This has everything to do with this individual. Now, as I was preparing for this episode, I wanted to make sure that there was a sensitivity around some people's behaviors and the reason for this. When you look up attention-seeking behavior, there is a lot of information on this being linked to depression and other mental health disorders. And so I also want to empower you when someone is coming and exuding these types of behaviors, pulling them aside and saying, let them know that you care about them as an individual, but that this can't continue. And I mean that with love, not like this can't continue. You can't keep doing this type of behavior at work. What I mean is for their own joy, their own happiness, their own life, they cannot continue to dwell in that negative spiral. And so simply asking them, would it be helpful if you were to talk to a professional? Would it be helpful for you to talk to HR about your situation? We want to come with compassion. We want to come with support. We want to come with care on our sides. And even if they are that obnoxious individual in your office, This truly might be linked to a mental health disorder. This truly might be linked to depression or loneliness, and not helping them handle that situation is not going to change the behavior. And lastly, I'll lead you with one of my favorite phrases, which is, if you can't change the situation, think about changing your mindset about the situation. If you can't change this employee's view of the world, view of their workplace, view of their coworkers, then you need to change how you view this individual. And again, I truly urge you to view them with compassion. They are probably struggling with something. As we noted, they might be struggling with severe low self-esteem. The last thing they need is for you to ghost them at work or refuse to talk to them. And so find a way for you to have balance with this individual. Again, that might be setting expectations and boundaries, but it also might be helping grow their self-esteem by letting them know what their strengths are and really lean in on that, because it can truly change a person's behavior when they feel valued and trusted and confident at work. And that is exactly what we aim to do here at Impact to Influence or at the What If It Works podcast. We want to help people feel valued so that they can learn and grow. We want people to feel trusted so that they can achieve at their full potential. And we want people confident to try new things and fail, but also confident in their success. And what if it works? What if you have an individual on your staff suffering with low self-esteem and low confidence, and you help build them up brick by brick each day, and you get to see a new side of them? They get to see a new side of themselves because they start to truly believe the value and the strengths that they have, that they bring to work each day. I am so grateful that you are here and you are learning and you are growing, but I am even more grateful when you take this information and put it out into the world. I absolutely love hearing your success stories. Thank you to those of you who have sent me tear streaking emails, meaning I read what you are doing at work and I read about how you're interacting with your students, and tears streak down my face because I am so moved by you taking action. Continue to do that. Share your wins with me. My email is impact@anvote.com. You can also hit me up on Facebook over on my business page, which is Impact to Influence, or you can find me on Instagram at Ann Vote. That's ANNVOTE. If you have not rated this podcast and you have been an avid listener, or even if you were a new listener today and you really enjoyed this episode, please leave a review, because it helps other leaders like yourself find this podcast and get fueled up. And that is what we are all about over here, is fueling ourselves up with goodness so that we can share that with the world and create change. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for transforming the culture around you so that you and others can thrive.